Yes, now ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rant YouTube channel. Today's video is a bit different, a bit old school actually. But here I am, walking to the gym. And I need to bring you some SmackDown reactions. I've done NXT, it's time for SmackDown. So, where do I even begin? Let's talk about the WWE title picture. Last week it was painted out that Drew McIntyre attacked Jacob Fatu and all this, and had a big fight with Cody Rhodes. And this week, Jimmy Uso turned up, supposedly, because, avenge his cousin Jacob Fatu. He's mad that he got attacked and all this and blah, 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 blah. And then Drew McIntyre, when he came out to the ring, had obviously a mic off with Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes is getting a bit boring for me. He's getting a bit stale, I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of the whole, but the WWE universe is behind me and all that. It's just boring, I'll be honest. So, Jimmy Uso then came out and spiced it up and started fighting Drew McIntyre, and they fought the whole night. This ended up being the main event in a no disqualification match, in which Drew McIntyre brutalised Jimmy Uso and beat him, which is a shame for Jimmy Uso, but then again, great for Drew McIntyre. And all I can really just take from this feud, right, is I love that they've continued it from WrestlePalooza, and that's a good sign for me. I really want Drew McIntyre to win this title. Just this little minor story these last 2 weeks that we've had, the way Cody just always goes after the cheap crowd reactions, it's boring me now. And I believe Drew, in most of his stories, Drew McIntyre is telling the truth, so I want him to be WWE champion now, I'll be honest. I'm here for it. I'm more than ready, so let's do that shit. As for the undisputed WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, as we know, she had that match with Kiana James. She beat Kiana James, and then Julia started attacking her. And I'm thinking, what are we going for here? Because I know that SmackDown Women's, SmackDown Women's roster is a bit dead at the moment, and that we don't really have any real competitors for Tiffany. And I thought, maybe are we going champion versus champion here? Have they got nothing left to do with Tiffany other than to give her 2 titles? Tiffany 2 belts. Which obviously wouldn't make sense, because if that was the case, why wouldn't you have her win the Crown Jewel Championship? So that's the road they were going. No. It was a cheap setup for Jade Cargill to come out and attack them both and save Tiffany from Julia and Kiana James. And that was until Jade Cargill turned heel. Now, I don't know if she turned heel or if she fully just had enough of Tiffany Stratton and wanted to shoot her shot at the champion. She said in a post-segment interview that the biggest lie she's ever been told is that patience is rewarded. So she's coming and taking a shot. I wouldn't call that necessarily a confirmed heel turn, but it pretty much is. And you know what? I think it's time to hand the title over to Jade Cargill. She's not the most entertaining, but the division's been stale and it probably needs that change. Tiffany's a great champion, but again, it needs that change. We need more women in that roster. We've got such a big Raw women's roster, and I know a lot of people are on the shelf, like Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. Major players on the shelf there, but something needs to change, man. And as for the other women's division, obviously Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss didn't do nothing this week except accept a challenge for Bayley and Lyra on Raw for the women's tag team titles. And Nia Jax came and had a bit of a moment with them. She said, just called out Alexa Bliss with hypocrisy, saying, friendships mean nothing. You used to bully me back in the day. And Alexa went on saying, people can change and whatnot. And her and Charlotte essentially just insulted Nia Jax. And we're probably going to get a pointless matchup there. Not really sure what the segment was for, but whatever. Here we are again. Axiom, or Fraxium, should I say, we're talking to Ilya Dragunov after his open challenge, claiming they wanted a shot. DIY for the second week in a row, interrupt them and kind of insult them a bit. I just think, we're going to get that tag team match or not? If so, can we just hurry up? Because it's a match we've seen many times, and it's not the most exciting. It's not for a belt. What are we doing, essentially? Speaking of Ilya Dragunov, he did his open challenge. I'm thinking first week, who's going to be? It was Aleister Black. I was quite surprised, really, because obviously they're not going to take the title off of Ilya Dragunov after 1 week. But then again, they've just had Aleister Black beat Damian Priest, add Selena Vega to his side, and make his story more interesting. So why would he lose straight away, right? Obviously, he lost thanks to the interruption of Damien Priest, who retained to, you know, go at Aleister Black. He had a big scar on his eye from the fireball, really selling it there. I'm just ready for this feud to end. He went into the concerto like he did to Drew. So I'm ready for this feud to end. Let it have a proper ending this time. Because I'll be honest, the way Drew and Damien Priest ended after all that weren't worth it. So this needs a proper end and I'm ready. And Ilya retained, not with the normal move he uses, I forget what he calls it, but he did it with like the diving headbutt, which I'm quite surprised with. So yeah, that is what it is. And for some reason I can't even remember the setup last week, but we had Rey Fenix teaming up with Shinsuke Nakamura against the MFTs, in which the MFTs won thanks to outside interferences, obviously. Genuinely can't remember the setup, but I'm guessing Shinsuke Nakamura is just replacing Andrade now, really. That is literally what we're getting. Yeah. Apart from that, did much more happen? Not really. We had Sammy bestow the honour of the Open Challenge upon Ilya Dragunov. We had Carmelo Hayes saying him and Miz are even and that's over with. And he vows to be him again. He vows to make the fans care for him again. And that's when Kit Wilson came in and said his whole toxic masculinity stuff. I really like how they're leaning into like a gimmick that's kind of modernised. You will find people like that these days. And he's a heel, so we'll see how people who think that way feel about that. Apart from that, can't really remember anything else memorable, unless I'm missing a major part of the episode here, which I feel like I am, but I don't think I am. So yeah, that's my opinions on SmackDown. Pretty decent episode. Got bored halfway through, I'll be honest. Nothing too exciting this week. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one for my Halloween Havoc review. And goodbye.